think of it this way. I want you to get this. Obedience to God's commandments, delight in God's character. You got those two? Obedience to God's commandments and delight in God's character. Which of these is more essential? Which of these is at the root of the other? God turned the delight in his character into a commandment. Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord. So now you got a commandment to feel this. God doesn't take neutral things or bad things and make them good by turning them into commandments. By his very nature and his supreme beauty and his supreme worth, it is right to delight in him above all things, and that's why it is a commandment. You know, God doesn't take random neutral or bad things and say, well, I think I'll make this one good, and then just create a commandment for it, and we're all into this external stuff of got to keep the commandments, so that must be good. You don't even know what good is if that's the way you think about morality. Same thing with evil. Disobeying God and preferring other things to God. Which is more basic? Which is more ultimate? Well, God took preferring other things to him, and he made it a commandment. You shall not have any other gods before me. You must treasure me above everybody. Love me above everybody. Jesus said the same thing. He who loves mother or father more than me is not worthy of me. He who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. It's a command. You must delight in God. You must delight in Jesus. Enjoy Jesus. Be satisfied in Jesus more than you delight in anything. That's a command. Now, I ask you, did God turn the evil of preferring other things to himself? Did he turn that evil into evil by making it a commandment? No, it was evil. Before there was any commandment anywhere in the universe of any kind, it was evil to prefer anything to God. Just happens now to be in the Bible for our help that it's forbidden. But if you don't get behind commandments to reality, so no, disobedience or law breaking is not the ultimate essence of evil. Paul put it like this, Romans chapter 3, verse 20, through the law comes the knowledge of sin. So, the law doesn't make sin sin. It's there, in you, in me, and it's in our desires. I want other things more than God. I enjoy other people more than God. That's the ultimate essence of evil. It gives rise to everything. Evil. One more text to test whether we're on the right track. Romans chapter 3 and Romans chapter 1. Very familiar verse in Romans 3:23. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. What does that mean? Well, let's just take the most obvious. Paul defines sin or evil not in relationship to people, but in relationship to God, right? That just stands on the face of it. All have sinned and fall short of God's glory. Now, sin hurts people. It destroys people. It's destroying the world. That's not the essence of sin. Far worse and far deeper is that there is a preference for us and what we want more than we want God. Now, is that a right interpretation of chapter 3, verse 23 of Romans? All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. What does fall short mean? I think the best explanation of Romans 3:23 is Romans 1:23. It's easy to remember. 1:23 defines 3:23. So I want to read verses 21 to 23 of Romans 1. You watch for the explanation. Although they knew God, this is talking about everybody everywhere in the world. Although they knew God, they did not glorify Him as God or give thanks to Him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools. And, here it comes, exchanged. This should remind you of Jeremiah 13:11, or chapter 2, verse 11. They exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man, birds, animals, creeping things. So the darkness of evil is seen here in the exchange. So I've got the glory of God as my treasure, possibly, and I contemplate its worth, beauty, value, satisfying qualities, and I say, no, trade it, exchange it for what He's made. Anything He made, anything good, anything evil, just as long as it's not Him. When chapter 3, verse 23 says, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, I think it means fall short of treasuring the glory of God according to its worth, because that's what 1:23 says we do. So you are all offered. You come into a world radiant with the glory of God. The heavens are telling the glory of God. You come into church services that lift up Jesus Christ as supremely glorious. And the ultimate essence of evil is that you taste it and go out preferring other things. That's the ultimate essence of evil. So here's my conclusion. The ultimate essence of sin in Romans 1 is the failure to treasure the glory of God above everything. The essence of evil in Jeremiah 2 is the failure to find the fountain of living water supremely satisfying. The ultimate essence of evil in the Garden of Eden was not eating the fruit. They had gone down before that. It's the loss of taste for God as the all-supplying life and joy, and the preference for what this tree can give me. I want that more than I want Him. That's the ultimate essence of evil, period, unless I don't understand the Bible at all. Now, you have to come to terms right now with whether you agree with those three expositions, because this is huge. This is absolutely huge. So here we go with our closing three applications. I said the reason I'm talking about this at Passion is because until you see and hate that the ultimate essence of evil in your life is preferring anything to God, until you see that and get up in the morning hating it, go to bed hating it, You will dumb down the majesty of God, you will diminish the triumph of Christ, and you will gut the Christian life of its glory. So let's just take those one at a time and say, why? Why does that work? Why does failing to see and hate the essence of evil result in not magnifying God? Number one, because the greatness of God's majesty is magnified, not in hollow efforts to keep commandments. Every religion does that. That doesn't make God look great, makes you look moral. Rather, the greatness of God's majesty is exalted when you are satisfied in Him more than anything, especially when you're suffering. So my point here is you'll never feel this. You will never devote your life to magnifying God by being satisfied in God until you see that the ultimate essence of evil is the failure to be satisfied in God. I just wonder, how many of you try to be good without any attention to this? Like you're fighting the battle at the level of deeds all the time. Well, I'm not supposed to do that, or I should be doing that, or more of that, or less of that. Like, Satan is laughing up his sleeve that you are fighting on a front that can never succeed. The battle is here, really deep here. What do you love? What do you cherish? What are you satisfied by? Are you fighting that battle? That's the battle that gives rise then to all that's good and kills all that's evil. So, the reason at Passion, talking about the ultimate essence of evil, is because Passion is about the majesty of God. And you will never make much of the majesty of God until you know and hate that the ultimate essence of evil is preferring anything to God. Number two, the triumph of Christ. Until you know and hate in your own heart the ultimate essence of evil, you will diminish what Christ achieved when He died and rose again. You will. So let's ask this. What did He achieve? Because you don't want to diminish it, right? You don't want to diminish what He achieved when He died and when He rose again. Well, let's name it. Here's what He achieved. The forgiveness of sins for His people, the removal of the wrath of God from His people, the defeat of death and the devil, the deliverance from hell and everlasting misery, the resurrection of our bodies someday, the healing of every physical and mental disease and disability, the entrance into the new heavens and the new earth. He bought it. It is finished. Everyone who is in Him has that. Now, that is not the ultimate thing for which He died. How can you say that? How can you say forgiveness of sins, removal of wrath, defeat of the devil, deliverance from hell, resurrection of our bodies, healing of every disease, entrance into heaven? That's not why He died, ultimately. First Peter chapter 3, verse 18 goes like this. Christ suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that He might bring us to God. To see God, to know God, to enjoy God, to treasure God, to reflect God. I mean, have you ever thought, why do you want your sins forgiven? Why do you want wrath taken away? Why do you want righteousness imputed to you? Why do you want to escape the clutches of the devil? Why do you want to be rescued from hell? Why do you want a perfect and new body? There's a damnable way to answer those. Who doesn't? You don't have to be saved to want that. And only an idiot would not want to escape hell. Idiots are not Christians. So what are those for? All of them are for getting us to God. The reason he died ultimately, and all those are means. They're getting obstacles out of the way. They're making it possible to stand in his presence. He wants to get us to God, in whose presence is fullness of joy, at whose right hand are pleasures forevermore. And you will never see and savor that as the triumph, the ultimate triumph of the cross, if you don't recognize and hate that the ultimate evil, the ultimate essence of evil in your life is to prefer anything to God. Finally, number 3. So we've talked about the majesty of God and why you need to know the ultimate essence of evil if you're going to make much of his majesty and the triumph of Christ, and why you need to know the ultimate essence of evil. If you're not going to diminish the triumph and just turn it into means to get out of hell instead of the means to get into his presence with joy, you'll never get there. You'll never love it for that reason. You'll never celebrate it and sing about it and tell other people about it for that reason. Not these reasons, but that reason, until you hate the fact that you aren't like that. Nobody is without a miracle. So what do I mean, thirdly, finally, what do I mean by, if you don't see and hate the ultimate essence of evil as preferring anything above God, if you don't see and hate that, you will gut the Christian life of its glory. Everything that makes the Christian life beautiful to God, pleasing to God, truly beautiful in the world. One of the things I love about Passion is Passion celebrates a majestic, holy, glorious, just, beautiful God and his Son by the Spirit. And then it works its way out in the lyrics of the songs and in various projects to a world that is blind to that, and you become the sight. Works it out. That's what I'm talking about. Why is it that you cannot be that kind of Christian until you see and hate the glory or the ultimate essence of evil? There is enormous pressure on you today, all of us, but you are a media-saturated generation. There's enormous pressure on you to think of the good. Just check and see if this is true. To think of good, opposite of evil. Think of good in ways that have nothing to do with God. Just think now. Okay, I call that good, I call that good, I call that good, and God never even in your mind when you say it. And so does the world. So you can strip God out, strip the Son of God out, strip a heart out that is dependent on God and delighting in God. Just strip all that out and still have good. Listen to what Paul said in Romans 14:23. Whatever does not proceed from faith is sin. That's devastating for everybody in the world. Whatever action, whatever attitude does not proceed from faith is sin. Here's the way Hebrews put it, chapter 11, verse 6. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. So I'm on this last point. asking, okay, what's the glory of the Christian life? And Paul and the writer to the Hebrews are saying, your life is just sin, and your life is just displeasing to God, unless there's faith. That is, unless there's the embrace of God is supremely valuable. Don't reduce faith to affirmations of sentences that Satan himself knows are true. Faith is the reception and the embrace of all that God is for us in Jesus, with a restful contentment and joy that He is it. And Paul says, and Hebrews says, where that is not happening, life is evil. Sin. That's as radical as you can get. Most of you probably don't believe that. Without faith, you cannot please God. What was the ultimate essence of the Pharisees? Sin. They devoured widows' houses. They despised sinners. They distorted the law. They exploited the poor. They felt no mercy. They neglected justice. They murdered God's Son. Is that the essence of their evil? No. The essence of their evil is that they loved money. It says so in Luke 16:14. And secondly, they loved the praise of man. And out of that cesspool of preferring the praise of man and what money can buy, preferring all that to the God of grace, everything evil came out of their lives, which we hate. But now, will we, as I end this, will we go down? Will you go down in your heart? Will you get at the root of what the ultimate essence of your evil is? So I'm going to close with a summary. The ultimate essence of evil is the loss of taste for God as our all-satisfying life and joy. Or flip the coin over, the ultimate essence of evil is a preference for other things, other people, anything created more than God. That's the ultimate essence of evil biblically. So I'm pleading with you to set your face like flint against that ultimate essence of evil. I want you to know and hate that about yourself and about the world, about me. And I want you, and I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, I'm going to pray for you, that you'll spend the rest of your life growing in the blood-bought ecstasy of treasuring God above all things. So hate the essence of evil in your heart and give yourself to going to Christ and embracing the alternative to the ultimate essence of evil, namely, I will find my treasure in Christ above all things. And if you do that, then the majesty of God will be magnified in your joy in God. And if you do that, the real ultimate triumph of Christ in His death and resurrection will not be diminished, but made much of as it comes to fulfillment in your joy in God's presence. And your life, your human life, will shine in the world with 1,000 truly good deeds.